Community is everything. We're proud to support ours. Through partnerships with fellow community leaders and organizations, we're helping our neighbors access essential resources and services so we can all thrive. Learn more at bofA.com/community.
Let's talk about the Growing Michigan Together Council and the focus and what inspired the formation of this council.
Well, the short answer is the governor inspired it because she called us and asked us to do this. But I'm certain, and I know that the governor and her staff had seen the data that we've been talking about today, and we're going to continue to talk about it throughout the day. And she made a decision that something needed to happen. And she made that decision by understanding that she had to bring all kind of folks together to do this. So the data was one of the things. And then also there are a lot of folks doing this work with their heads down and hadn't really taken their heads up to discuss and talk about what are some of the kinds of issues that we're dealing with. So the governor did it, and she asked John, and John and I worked together to do this and brought the folks together who over a course of 6-month period of time made the recommendations that we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about today. So the inspiration was we got issues and we need to begin to do something about them.
What specific challenges and contributing factors rather, did the council identify when you were looking into the data and doing the investigation?
Well, clearly education. I mean, the governor gave us in the executive order, she had talked about 4 work groups, and that was K through 12 education, higher ed, jobs, talent, people, and infrastructure. So those 4 areas the governor and her team had already identified. And so when John and I had the opportunity to make appointments to those work groups, and they took the time to come up with the recommendations to us as a council, and then we dug deeper after that. So I talked about earlier that we found out that only 30% of the young people in the state of Michigan, 4th graders, can read at 4th grade level. That's amazing. We looked at college completion rates, junior college completion rates, not up to where they need to be. So all those kinds of things really we looked at again and made recommendations to do something about. That data is just like overwhelming, but when you look at it and look at it again and again, you realize that we do have a problem. And as I mentioned, we felt that it was important that we define the problem and help people understand it. And that's what we spend our time doing. And once you define the problem, then the recommendations come from that.
And I know it's all data driven, and you will hear people say, well, it's data, but did they go and talk to people? Were they talking to the people?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so proud of the fact that over the course of the time, more than 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 folks in the state of Michigan were spoken to. We talked to young people, whatever, and that initiative really was led by the Chief Growth Officer of Michigan. So I know when we had the opening in September, Wayne State, we had an opening day, and I looked around and I saw young people being given questionnaires by the Growth Council folks, and I know they did that in many colleges in the state of Michigan. So spent a lot of time doing focus groups, town halls, et cetera, getting feedback. So it wasn't just the work group members who were able to provide information to the council, but also citizens of the state of Michigan provided information. We took that information and made it a part of the recommendations.
We have another guest that's going to come out and join us as well.
I'm so happy. When people have asked me over the course of the past 6 months, what's different about this? And all of us, and many of you in the audience I know, have been in work groups and committees, and you've done the report, and you've taken the report and presented it, and it's sat on a shelf and got dust. And that is what I know is going to be different today. The governor saw fit to create a Chief Growth Officer, the first in the United States. And Hilary is that Chief Growth Officer for us, and she's done a lot already, and we're excited about the fact that this is not going to be something that sits on a shelf. Not just Hilary and her team, but all of us here also work on it. So I'd like to ask Hilary to come and join us. It's okay.
Hilary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You know, as much as this council is about growing Michigan's population, it's also about retaining those who are still here.
Absolutely. That's where it starts. I'm sure you have a lot to say about this as well, Shirley. First of all, can I say thank you for asking me to come out here today and join you. It's been such a pleasure to get to work with both of the chairs. I learned so much through this process. But one of the things that we've been rooted in from the very beginning is that in order to really grow the state, we need to wrap arms around first the folks that are here and are making decisions every day about where they're going to build their future. It's a choice that you don't make once.
Right.
You make it over and over again every year. Can I build my first career here, my first home, build my family here? And so the public engagement that you were mentioning is such a critical part of this work, because we've been talking to Michiganders and we're listening and we believe them, right? They're letting us know what they love about our state and also what they think needs to be different, what's between them and building their future here.
I wanted to make sure that, that we did take the time to talk about the fact, because as Hilary's heard me say many times, I'm a Detroiter, native Detroiter, and I live here, and I used to get so tired, still tired, people saying, Detroit's coming back. My husband actually bought me a t-shirt that says, Detroit never left. And so I want to make sure that this is for both those of us who've made a decision to stay here. It's for us too, and we need to hear why folks have made a decision to stay here, and even before they leave, take that and use it to inform the work that we got going forward.
Yeah, we build incredible opportunities and places that our folks love, and those are the same ingredients for attraction. So long term, it starts with us.
Did you hear from young people when it came to transportation and those kind of things? Because as you know, a lot of young people, they don't even want to own a car. They rather have some mass transit or something like that. But we're Motown. I mean, come on, car. But did you hear from them? Did they talk about that?
Absolutely, yes. Transit came up really consistently. In fact, infrastructure more broadly was the most widely reported, desired sort of change and progress that folks wanted to see. Talked a lot about transit and walkable communities, both of those ingredients, but also frankly talked about sort of more traditional infrastructure from the perspective of really wanting our communities to feel nice and things we can be proud of, wanting to invest in those things. And we've seen improvement, obviously, in recent years, but it's still a really consistent point of feedback, even from the youngest folks across the state.
So for me, I was really shocked to find out that young people don't even want driver's licenses. Not only do they not want a car, they don't want to drive. They want public, right? Public transportation. My goddaughter just got her master's from the University of Michigan, and she said, I want to live in a place where there's public transportation. We have to get that feedback and listen to them, which is what we're doing, to say, I know it's a motor city, but we have to, it's not either or, it's both and. We really have to provide public transportation. That's what young people are telling us, and they're leaving. They really are leaving.
And it showed up strongly in the work group, strongly in the report. Really excited to get broad consensus on that.
Right.
And you were talking about education too, which is one of the strategies in here as well, and the loss of young people up in the UP, and how that happens. Nobody knows about it.
Nobody knows about where they go, really, and they're not coming back. I was really, like I said, really shocked by that. But we look at numbers going down in many of the places around the K through 12 education systems around the state, and we're thinking they're moving someplace else, but a lot of them are moving out of the state.
How do you envision the collaboration with the legislature and the other stakeholders in the months ahead when you try to implement these strategies?
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that, Shirley, or I can jump in?
We'll
do a buddy act.
Okay.
My role in so many ways starts, now. I obviously started in June and have been so honored to get the chance to work with the council and get to this place. But if the task is to grow the state, we all know it's going to take policy change, kind of improving that product that is Michigan. It's also going to take partnership with local communities across our state, because people move to places, not just states. And it's going to take real, branding and marketing and storytelling so that folks across our state are sharing the experience of living here, making sure our young folks know about it, and folks across the country know as well. So my intention going forward is to keep partnering with everybody in the room. It's a group project, and of course, with folks that we've been working with over the last 6 months to make sure that we can make real progress here. And I know that some of our partners in the legislature have already reached out. I've gotten so much positive feedback from the report because it didn't pull punches. It provided real clarity as to the key metrics where we've fallen behind some of our faster growing peers. And I think that guidance and trajectory is really important for us to root in going forward. So I'm really excited to lock arms with folks in a really bipartisan way to get some of this done.
And it's going to really be tough. One of the things John and I spent a lot of time talking about is the fact that we have, we're a very, very old state, and our Constitution is old. And there are things that need to be changed. So our elected officials in the legislature are going to really have some heavy lifting to do. One of the examples that I use all the time, and this is just one of the things, is that in the state of Michigan, there's no cap, example, for the number of charter schools. There's no cap on the number of school districts. We have some enormous amount of school districts in the state of Michigan. And at one point, when I was at New Detroit, there was a school district that had like 8 or 9 young people in it. There are school districts that have down the middle, different high schools, and they only need one high school and they have 2. So think about the administrative issues you have with that, and if that could go away. But again, those are things that have to change, and our policymakers are going to have to take a deep breath and look at some of the things that we can change just by changing the policies that we have in place in the state.
What do you say to the naysayers? Because you've heard it from the beginning. As a reporter, I've heard it as well. Those who say this is just a money grab, this is just a way for the governor to give Democrats political cover for some unpopular tax hikes.
I don't know, you want to take it first?
To implement these strategies.
You can both say.
I mean, we can both, because we've heard that so much. People say we did not have the time. Again, when we realized how deep the problem was and we got data, we said, we have to make sure we take the time to define the problem as it is. We did not have time to do anything about the finances. We knew that needed to happen, and there needs to be a deep dive in terms of looking at what is the spending now, what can we change? If we do something about the number of school districts in the state of Michigan, for example, can we save money that way? So there's a lot that needs to be done, and we did not have a conversation about taxes, et cetera. And one of the things that I've said, though, is that when you look at where our kids are going, they're going to think about Colorado as one of the states that's getting Boston, Massachusetts, still Chicago. The taxes aren't cheaper there than they are here. So young people are going to places, they don't care about the taxes. Again, we didn't have a conversation about it, but in a lot of ways, I think they're maybe not looking at the right thing at the right time.
I can just say that it was, a real honor to be in all those rooms, to get to sit with all those work groups. There were over 100 folks involved in the process. And the conversation was deep. Folks got into it with each other, as we should. And we're talking about real issues here. So what I would just hope is that the public education work can be robust and continue, that Michiganders have a seat at the table to really hear what we're hearing and for us to continue listening, and for us to build a shared fact base together. I think that's what that 19-1 vote represented to me. The big feat here is to have a shared fact space about our relative competitiveness, what's in front of us, what changes we need to make going forward, and that we can tackle those things honestly. And I feel like I heard that from the council. So, I wish everybody could have been in every room, but the truth is we're trying to solve a big problem here, and we're taking it seriously, and we want to get it done together. So my invitation is to, come on over and let's do this. So
we challenged each other. Those meetings were
Shirley,
were tough meetings.
Letting me plug my QR code.
Okay.
We had the benefit of having a big screen, so needed to throw something up there. Anybody who wants to scan this, I'd love it for you to. This is the invitation to please sign up for updates going forward, because it is a group project. Things that seem intractable or really, really big are just hard things you do with lots of people. So my intention is for us to move some of these recommendations forward this year, and this is a great way for you to follow along going forward. We'll be inviting more and more of you to the table throughout the year.
It's not over yet. We still have lots to do.
Yeah.
One last question for you, Shirley. Bipartisan cooperation will have to play a success in these proposed strategies. And I know you said that the council is not leading with politics.
Exactly.
And so how has the Growth Council managed to set aside those partisan differences and not lead with politics in order to formulate the strategies that need to be done?
Really, really stay laser focused on the issue. And the issue affects all of us, whether we're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever. And the council thought about that, took a vow basically when they sat at the table, this is about the issue. And so folks did that. I mean, when you start taking the time to get to know each other as we did and focus on the facts that people really don't want to have to get on an airplane and fly to see their grandchildren. They really wish that they could stay here, right? You have those kinds of questions. And so we did not lead with politics. We were able to take it, put them to the side, not that you left them, but focus on the issue. And that was our challenge. And I'm so proud of the fact that everybody took it seriously and made a decision that this is what we're going to do. And everybody understands that doing nothing is not an option. And I think John and I put that at the end of our letter at the beginning of the report. Doing nothing is not an option. It's going to take each of us and all of us, not just the council members and not just our elected officials, but all of us to do something to grow Michigan. And the key word that I think is together. Really, really, we took that seriously, growing Michigan together, and we did work on doing that together. And excited about the report and excited about what's going to happen next.
Shirley Stancato and Hilary Doe, thank you so much for having
Thank
me,
you.
and I appreciate talking with you this morning.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Community is everything. We're proud to support ours. Through partnerships with fellow community leaders and organizations, we're helping our neighbors access essential resources and services so we can all thrive. Learn more at bofa.com/community.